If you are listening to this, your day is ending or your night is beginning, and either way, you are welcome here. There is nothing you need to remember tonight. Tonight we will drift very slowly into the deep blue waters where the strange and ancient octopuses are quietly going about their patient lives. This is the Circadian Institute. Every night we visit a different patient corner of the natural world, places that have been there long before us and will remain long after. Tonight we have come to the world of the octopus, 8-armed gentle creatures of the deep blue sea, patient, intelligent, ancient, watching the world with eyes older than human history. If you would like more nights like this, subscribing to the channel keeps them coming. Before we begin, let your body settle. Feel the support beneath you. Feel the surface where your weight already rests. There is nothing you need to do tonight, nothing you need to remember, nothing you need to fix. The night is already moving without you, slowly, quietly, exactly as it should. Let your breath be ordinary, not deeper, not slower, just whatever it already is. Notice the way the air enters on its own. Notice the way it leaves on its own. The breath has been doing this all day. It does not need your supervision tonight. Sleep arrives the way evening arrives, gradually, without effort, without permission, without anyone announcing it. There is nothing to hurry. There is nothing to wait for. The body knows the way. The room around you is quieter than it was an hour ago. The world is quieter than it was at noon. Somewhere outside, the small sounds of the night are still moving slowly. None of them need your attention. They are part of the soft, ordinary noise of the world preparing to rest. Let your shoulders drop a little if they have not already. Let your jaw soften. Let your tongue rest where it wants to rest. There is no posture you need to hold. Your body knows how to lie down. It has been doing this every night of your life. Tonight, instead of a place far inland, we are going to drift slowly into the deeper waters of the world, toward the rocky ledges and quiet sandy floors where the strangest and most patient creatures of the sea live their unhurried lives, toward a kind of intelligence very different from our own, one with 8 gentle arms, 3 quiet hearts, and skin that can speak in colors. We are going to drift into the world of the octopus, 8-armed gentle creatures of the deep blue sea, patient hunters with skin that changes faster than thought, solitary residents of small rocky dens, distant cousins of the snail and the clam, ancient minds quietly watching the world from the corners of countless reefs and abyssal plains. The journey we are about to take is slow on purpose. Nothing will happen quickly. There are no surprises ahead. There is no part of this story that requires you to stay awake. If you fall asleep before we are finished, that is the right ending. We will simply continue the journey without you. So let the room hold you. Let the bed hold you. Let the pillow hold your head. And let the quiet, patient world of the octopus begin to open very slowly, the way the deep sea opens at dawn when no one is watching. To begin the story of the octopus, we have to begin a very long time ago, long before the first dinosaurs, long before the first trees, long before the first fish with bones. The lineage of the octopus reaches back into a time when almost nothing on Earth had yet learned how to walk on land. The octopus belongs to a group of animals called the cephalopods. The word comes from Greek and it means simply head, foot, Because in a cephalopod, the arms emerge directly from the head. There is no body in between, in the way we are used to. The whole creature is, in some sense, a head with limbs attached. The cephalopods are very, very old. The earliest cephalopods appeared in the fossil record more than 500 million years ago, during a period scientists call the Cambrian. At that time, the seas of the world were full of strange creatures, most of which have long since vanished. Among them, the cephalopods were already thriving. The earliest cephalopods looked nothing like the modern octopus. They had hard outer shells, like the snails they were related to. They were called nautiloids, and they swam through ancient seas with their tentacles trailing from the open end of their long curving shells. Some of them were small, some of them grew to enormous sizes, the largest predators of their time. If you have ever seen a chambered nautilus with its beautiful spiral shell and its tentacles peeking out, you have seen the closest living relative of those ancient cephalopods. The nautilus today is a kind of living fossil, a quiet remnant of a once vast family of shelled creatures that ruled the seas long before fish became dominant. After the nautiloids came another wave of cephalopods called the ammonites. The ammonites had similar coiled shells, but they were even more numerous and even more diverse. For hundreds of millions of years, the ammonites filled the seas with their many sizes and many forms. They left behind some of the most beautiful and recognizable fossils in the world. Ammonite fossils are found on nearly every continent. Their spiral shells, sometimes the size of a coin, sometimes the size of a wheel, mark layers of stone laid down across vast geological eras. To find an ammonite fossil is to hold a small piece of an ancient ocean in your hand. To imagine the creature that once lived inside it is to begin imagining the strange shallow seas of long ago. Slowly, over the long ages of Earth, some cephalopods began to lose their outer shells. They became softer, more flexible, more agile. The shell, once a protection, became a burden. The ones that gave it up could move faster, hide better, squeeze into smaller spaces. They became the ancestors of the modern soft-bodied cephalopods, the squid, the cuttlefish, and the octopus. The cuttlefish kept a small internal shell called a cuttlebone. It is what remains in their bodies of the ancient hard shell. You may have seen a cuttlebone before, washed up pale on a beach or hung in the cage of a pet bird as a source of calcium. It is the quiet inheritance of a creature whose family once wore armor. The squid kept a small, thin internal structure called a pen, which is little more than a flexible quill running down the inside of its body. It is even less of a shell than the cuttlebone. It is just enough to give the squid's body some structure while leaving it almost completely soft and fluid. The octopus finally gave up the shell completely. It kept no internal skeleton at all. Its body became entirely soft, with not a single bone, not a single rigid plate, not a single hard structure except for one small thing, a hard, sharp beak hidden in the center of its 8 arms, used only for feeding. This long surrender of the shell has shaped everything about the octopus. Without bones, the octopus can squeeze through any opening larger than its beak. Without a rigid body, it can pour itself like water into the smallest crevices. Without armor, it must rely on cleverness, camouflage, and patience to survive. The story of the octopus is, in many ways, the story of an animal that traded its protection for its intelligence. Today, there are around 300 species of octopus in the seas of the world. They live in nearly every ocean, from the warm shallows of tropical reefs to the cold abyssal plains thousands of meters below the surface. They live in the polar seas. They live in temperate kelp forests. They live in coral gardens. They live in the deep, dark trenches where almost no light reaches. Each species is a slight variation on the same ancient design. 8 arms, 3 hearts, blue copper-based blood, a donut-shaped brain wrapped around the throat, skin that can change color in milliseconds, a small hard beak hidden in the center of the body. These are the inheritances of 500 million years of patient evolution. To watch an octopus move through the water is to watch a creature whose ancestors swam in seas that no human will ever see. The fossil record of the cephalopods stretches back to a time when the continents were arranged differently, when the atmosphere had a different composition, when the sun had a slightly younger color in the sky. The octopus carries that long history in its body, even if it does not know it. Among living animals, only a few lineages are as old as the cephalopods: the horseshoe crab, the lamprey, the lungfish, the cycad tree. Most of the creatures we share the planet with are newcomers compared to the octopus and its relatives. The octopus is, in a quiet way, an elder of the earth. And yet, the octopus has not stayed still over those long ages. It has changed and changed and changed again. The octopus we know today is not the octopus of 100 million years ago. It is the latest version of a creature that has been quietly experimenting with new bodies, new behaviors, new minds, since long before the first mammals walked on land. It is one of the great pleasures of biology to remember how old some living things are. To remember that when you watch an octopus today, you're watching a living echo of a 500 million year experiment. The arms, the suckers, the soft body, the strange eyes, all of them have been shaped slowly by countless generations of patient ancestors. Tonight, while you rest, octopuses are continuing this long lineage in countless dens and crevices around the world. Each one a small living link in a chain that reaches back to the Cambrian, each one carrying in its quiet body the patient inheritance of an ancient family. It is good company somehow to know they are there, the way it is good company to know that ancient redwoods are still growing somewhere even when you cannot see them. The way it is good company to know that the slow patient work of the world is continuing in countless forms while you rest. So let us continue our drift, very slowly, deeper into the world of the octopus. There is much to see in this ancient quiet kingdom. Slowly, there is plenty of night. To understand an octopus, it helps to begin with its body, because the body of an octopus is unlike any other body on Earth. There is almost no part of it that resembles in any direct way the body of a fish or a bird or a mammal. It is a body designed by an entirely different branch of the tree of life. An octopus has 8 arms, not tentacles technically, but arms. The distinction matters to biologists. A tentacle is long and thin, with suckers only at the tip. An arm is muscular along its full length, with suckers running from the base to the tip. The octopus has 8 true arms. The squid has 8 arms and 2 longer tentacles. The cuttlefish has the same arrangement. Only the octopus has 8, and only 8. Each arm is a marvel of soft engineering. There are no bones inside it. Instead, each arm is a hydrostat, a structure made entirely of muscle and water, kept rigid or flexible by the pressure of the muscles themselves, the same principle as the human tongue. An octopus arm can curl in any direction, at any point, in any combination. It can bend like a knee, then bend like a wrist, then ripple like a wave, all in the same motion. Along the underside of each arm runs a double row of suckers. A medium-sized octopus may have around 2,000 suckers in total, spread across all 8 arms. The suckers can grip with surprising strength. They can also taste. Each sucker is lined with chemoreceptors that allow the arm to sample the chemical signature of whatever it touches. The octopus tastes with its hand. This means that when an octopus reaches into a crevice it cannot see, it is not feeling around blindly the way we would. It is exploring with 8 independent tongues, each capable of identifying the texture and chemistry of what it touches. The arm knows whether it is touching a clam or a crab or a stone or a fish by taste alone. At the center of the 8 arms, where they all meet, is the mouth, and at the mouth is the only hard structure in the entire octopus body, a small parrot-like beak made of a tough material similar to fingernails. The beak is shaped exactly like the beak of a small bird, but it points downward, and it is used to crush the shells of crabs, clams, and other prey. Above the beak, where the arms join, is a small soft tube called the buccal mass, which leads into the throat. And here, perhaps the strangest fact about octopus anatomy reveals itself. The throat of the octopus passes directly through the brain. The brain is shaped like a donut, and the food passes through the hole in the middle of the donut on its way to the stomach. This is one of the small evolutionary jokes of the octopus. The brain wraps around the throat because of the long history of cephalopod ancestors. It works perfectly well. It does mean, however, that an octopus must be careful about swallowing anything too large or too sharp, because the food has to pass through the very center of the creature's mind. Above the donut brain is the bulbous part of the octopus that looks to us like the head. In fact, this is not the head. This is the mantle. The mantle is a kind of muscular sac that holds most of the octopus's internal organs, its stomach, its gills, its hearts, its reproductive system. The actual head, where the eyes and brain sit, is below the mantle, where the arms join. The mantle pulses gently as the octopus breathes. Inside it, water is drawn in through small slits on the side, passes over the gills where oxygen is absorbed, and is then expelled through a tube called the siphon. The siphon can be aimed in different directions, allowing the octopus to use the same mechanism for both breathing and gentle propulsion. When the octopus needs to move quickly, it can contract its mantle hard and shoot a powerful jet of water through the siphon. This is the octopus's jet propulsion, the same principle that powers a rocket, although much gentler. A startled octopus can vanish in a sudden quiet burst, leaving behind only a small swirl of water and sometimes a cloud of dark ink. Inside the mantle, the octopus carries 3 hearts. This is one of the famous facts about octopuses, and it is true. 2 of the hearts pump blood through the gills, where the blood picks up oxygen. The 3rd heart pumps the oxygenated blood through the rest of the body. The arrangement is unusual, but it works very well given the way an octopus lives. The blood of an octopus is also unusual. It is blue, not red. This is because octopus blood, like the blood of most cephalopods and many other invertebrates, uses a copper-based molecule called hemocyanin to carry oxygen. instead of the iron-based hemoglobin that gives our own blood its red color. Hemocyanin works better than hemoglobin in cold, low-oxygen water, exactly the kind of environment many octopuses live in. The blue blood and the three hearts are part of an ancient solution to the problem of being a soft, active animal in cool ocean water. The octopus needs more oxygen than its body would naturally absorb. So evolution gave it more pumps and a more efficient carrier molecule, and the result is a creature that can move quickly when it needs to and rest patiently when it does not. On the sides of the head, the eyes of an octopus emerge. Octopus eyes are surprisingly similar to human eyes, even though they evolved entirely independently. They have a lens, an iris, a pupil, and a retina. The pupil is rectangular, like a horizontal slit, which gives the octopus a particular field of view well suited to scanning the seafloor. Octopus eyes can see fine detail, can detect motion easily, and are sensitive to polarized light, which means the octopus can see patterns in the water that we cannot. Strangely, despite all this visual sophistication, most octopuses appear to be colorblind. This is one of the small mysteries of the octopus. It changes color constantly, but it cannot seem to perceive the colors it produces. Some scientists believe the octopus may be detecting color in another way, perhaps through its skin, which is full of light-sensitive cells. Perhaps the octopus sees its world less through its eyes alone and more through its entire body, in a kind of distributed vision that is hard for us to imagine. The skin itself is the most visible feature of the octopus body, and it is perhaps the most extraordinary part of all. The skin contains millions of pigment cells called chromatophores, layers of reflective cells called iridophores and leucophores, and tiny muscles called papillae that can change the texture of the skin from smooth to bumpy to spiky. We will spend a whole chapter soon on the skin alone. Beneath the skin, the muscles of the octopus run in three directions: longitudinally, transversely, and obliquely. This three-dimensional muscle arrangement is what gives the octopus its remarkable flexibility. There is almost no shape an octopus cannot make. There is almost no opening it cannot squeeze through. Its body is a kind of intelligent water, held together only by skin and muscle. All of these features together, the 8 arms, the suckers, the donut brain, the 3 hearts, the blue blood, the soft mantle, the rectangular eyes, the chromatophore skin, the boneless body, make the octopus one of the most remarkable creatures on Earth. There is no other animal that combines all of these traits. The octopus is in many ways its own evolutionary experiment. Tonight, somewhere in the warm and cold seas of the world, octopuses are quietly carrying these bodies through their patient lives, each one a small marvel of soft engineering, each one a living testament to a 500 million year experiment in being alive without bones. Let us drift very slowly toward the next quiet wonder of these creatures. There is something strange about the way an octopus thinks. Strange enough that scientists have spent decades trying to understand it, and they are still in the middle of the work. The mind of an octopus is not located in one place. It is in a quiet and remarkable way distributed across the entire body of the creature. An octopus has in total around 500 million neurons. This is a lot. It is roughly the same as a dog and significantly more than most fish or reptiles. By any measure, an octopus is a creature with a substantial nervous system, but the unusual thing is not the number. The unusual thing is where those neurons are located. Only about a third of an octopus's neurons live in its central brain, the donut-shaped structure wrapped around the throat. The other two-thirds, almost two-thirds, live in the arms. Each arm has its own bundle of nerves called an axial nerve cord that runs along its full length with smaller ganglia or nerve clusters at the base of every sucker. This means that each arm of an octopus has, in some real sense, its own small brain. Not a complete brain, but a substantial nervous system capable of solving local problems on its own. An arm can taste a piece of food, decide whether to grasp it, choose how firmly to hold it all, without consulting the central brain at all. This is why scientists sometimes describe the octopus as having 9 brains, 1 central brain, and 8 smaller arm brains. The description is a simplification, but it points at something real. The body of an octopus is not run by a single central authority. It is run by a kind of cooperative federation of nervous systems, each capable of acting on its own. If you were to gently amputate the arm of an octopus, the arm itself would continue to behave for some time afterward. It would still react to touch. It would still attempt to grasp small objects. It would still pull away from things that taste unpleasant. The arm, in some sense, knows what to do, even when it is no longer connected to the rest of the octopus. This is not a special trick. This is simply the normal way an octopus arm operates. Even in an intact, healthy octopus, the arms are constantly making local decisions without involving the central brain. The central brain may set a general goal, find food, hide from predator, explore that crevice, but the moment-by-moment work of moving, grasping, and tasting is left to the arm. This kind of distributed cognition is sometimes called embodied intelligence. The intelligence is not just in the brain, it is in the whole body. The arms are not simply tools that the brain operates. They are, in some sense, partners in thinking. The whole octopus thinks together, central brain and 8 arms, in a kind of constant, quiet conversation. It is hard for us to imagine what this is like from the inside. We are creatures with a single central brain, and we tend to assume that all of our thinking happens in one place. But for the octopus, thinking is something the whole body does together. There is no single place in the octopus where the whole self could be said to live. Some philosophers and scientists who study the octopus have described it as a kind of alien intelligence. Not because it is somehow extraterrestrial, but because its mind is organized so differently from ours that it offers a glimpse of what intelligence could look like if it had evolved along entirely different lines. The octopus is, in this sense, a window into a different way of being a mind. This different kind of mind has practical consequences. An octopus can, for example, pay attention to many things at once in a way that a human cannot. While one arm explores a crevice, another may be guiding the body, another may be tasting a passing piece of food, another may be holding the body in place against a current. Each task is being done by a different part of the nervous system in parallel. The arms, however, are not entirely independent. They communicate with the central brain and with each other through the nerve cords that run between them. The central brain can override the arms when it needs to. It can coordinate them when complex tasks require coordination. It can decide which arm should reach for what. The Federation has a quiet center even if it is decentralized. Studies have shown that the central brain of an octopus seems to have a general sense of where its arms are, but not a precise map of every position of every sucker. The brain knows the arms are doing something useful. The arms know the details. The system works because the labor of thinking has been divided in a sensible way. This division of labor is one of the things that makes octopus behavior so flexible. The octopus can respond to many small problems at once without the central brain becoming overwhelmed. It can solve complex puzzles by letting the arms experiment locally while the central brain monitors progress. It is, in a quiet way, a creature whose mind has been designed for parallel exploration. This may also be why octopuses are so good at certain kinds of learning. They can remember the layout of complex environments. They can recognize individual humans, sometimes treating different people very differently. They can learn to open jars, to navigate mazes, to escape from sealed enclosures. The distributed mind, it seems, is also a quick and adaptive mind. There are still many things we do not understand about the octopus mind. We do not know what it feels like from the inside to have 8 semi-autonomous arms. We do not know whether the central brain experiences a unified self the way we do, or whether the experience of being an octopus is more like a small council of cooperating minds. These are deep questions, and the answers may always remain partly hidden. What we can say is that the octopus shows us something important about the nature of intelligence. It does not have to look like ours. It does not have to be centered in a single brain. It does not have to follow the patterns we are used to. The world is full of minds, and they are organized in many different ways, each one shaped by the long, patient hands of evolution. Tonight, while you rest, octopuses are continuing their distributed thinking in countless dens and reefs around the world. Each arm tasting, exploring, deciding, each central brain quietly coordinating, each whole creature carrying out its patient nightly business with a kind of intelligence very different from ours, and yet just as real. It is a quiet thought to know that there are minds in the sea that work this way, to know that intelligence is not a single shape, but many, to know that the world has been growing different kinds of minds for hundreds of millions of years, in many different bodies, each one finding its own way to think. Let the thought rest gently in your mind. There is no need to grasp it tightly. Like the octopus itself, it can be held lightly with many different parts of attention all at once. And let us continue our journey very slowly into the next quiet aspect of the octopus body. There is much more to see. If you watch an octopus for any length of time, you will see something that no other creature on Earth can do. The skin of the octopus changes. It changes color. It changes pattern. It changes texture. It changes brightness. And it does all of this in fractions of a second, sometimes faster than the eye can follow. The skin of an octopus is not a passive surface. It is in many ways an active organ, a kind of canvas that the octopus paints continuously with the small muscles and pigments embedded in its outer layer. To look at the skin of an octopus is to watch a living screen displaying the inner state of the creature in real time. The first layer of this living canvas is made up of tiny pigment-filled sacs called chromatophores. Each chromatophore is a small bag of color surrounded by a ring of muscles. When the muscles contract, the bag stretches open and the color spreads across a larger area of skin. When the muscles relax, the bag shrinks and the color disappears. There are millions of these chromatophores in the skin of a single octopus. They come in different colors: yellow, orange, red, brown, black. Each one is controlled individually by tiny nerves that connect it directly to the central nervous system. The octopus does not have to think about expanding chromatophores any more than we have to think about blinking. The control is fast and automatic. Beneath the chromatophore layer is a second layer of cells called iridophores. The iridophores do not contain pigment. Instead, they contain stacks of thin reflective plates that bounce light back through the skin in particular ways, depending on the angle and the spacing of the plates. The iridophores can produce silvery, blue, green, or even rainbow-like effects. Beneath the iridophores in many species is a third layer called leucophores. The leucophores are made of cells that scatter all wavelengths of light equally, producing a soft white background. They serve in some sense as the canvas behind the colored display, allowing the chromatophores and iridophores above to show their colors more clearly. Together, these three layers, chromatophores, iridophores, leucophores, give the octopus an extraordinary palette. The octopus can produce nearly every color in the visible spectrum, in nearly every pattern imaginable: spots, stripes, marbling, solid colors, pulsing waves, sharp boundaries. The skin is in some sense a high-resolution display controlled by the nervous system. And the changes happen quickly. An octopus can shift from one pattern to another in less than a second. It can ripple a wave of color along the length of its body. It can produce a flash of bright pulsing color, almost like a kind of visual exclamation. It can fade slowly into the background of a coral reef, becoming nearly invisible against the rocks. This is what makes the octopus one of the great masters of camouflage in the natural world. We will explore that mastery more in the next chapter, but the foundation of it is here in the skin, in the millions of tiny machines working together to paint the octopus into whatever surroundings it finds itself in. There is something else about the octopus skin that is perhaps even more astonishing than the colors. The skin can change its texture as well. Tiny muscles called papillae, embedded throughout the skin, can be raised or lowered. When raised, they create bumps, ridges, spikes, or fronds, transforming the surface of the octopus from smooth to rough in a fraction of a second. This means that the octopus can match not just the color of its surroundings, but the texture as well. If it is sitting on smooth sand, its skin becomes smooth. If it is sitting on a rough coral, its skin becomes bumpy. If it is hiding among seaweed, its skin can sprout small frond-like projections that look exactly like leaves of seaweed. The disguise becomes nearly perfect. All of this is happening somehow, despite the fact that octopuses appear to be colorblind. Their eyes have only one type of photoreceptor, which means that, biologically, they should not be able to perceive color the way we do, and yet they produce color displays of remarkable precision, exactly matching the colors of their surroundings. This is one of the great open mysteries of octopus biology. How does a colorblind animal produce such accurate color matches? One possibility suggested by recent research is that the octopus may be able to detect color through its skin. Octopus skin contains light-sensitive proteins called opsins, similar to the proteins in the retina of an eye. Perhaps the skin itself can sense the colors around it and adjust its own colors to match. If this is true, the octopus is, in some sense, seeing with its entire body, not just with its eyes, but with every patch of skin. The whole creature would be a kind of distributed visual sensor, taking in information about light and color across its full surface, and using that information to control its own coloration. This would be a kind of seeing very different from anything humans experience. We see with two eyes in one direction at a time, with a sharp central focus and a blurry periphery. The octopus, if this hypothesis is correct, may see with its whole skin in all directions at once, sensitive to colors that its eyes cannot directly perceive. It is hard to imagine, but it would be a beautiful adaptation if true. Whatever the precise mechanism, the result is one of the most beautiful displays in the natural world. An octopus moving across a coral reef shifts in real time, its skin painting itself onto the background. An octopus resting on sand becomes a small soft shadow that you might miss entirely. An octopus signaling to another octopus pulses with patterns that even other octopuses might struggle to read. Octopus skin is also sometimes used for communication. When two octopuses encounter each other, they often produce flashes and patterns at each other. Some of these patterns are calming, some are warnings, some are part of the strange courtship displays that octopuses use during mating. The skin in these moments becomes a kind of language. Some octopuses also produce dazzling displays for predators, flashing waves of color that flow rapidly across their bodies, possibly to startle, possibly to confuse. Others produce more subtle signals, slow shifts of pattern that match changing currents, or small ripples of color that seem to mirror the inner state of the creature. In all of this, the octopus is doing something that no other animal on Earth can do. It is wearing its inner state on the outside of its body in a continuous flowing display of color and pattern and texture. It is, in some sense, a creature whose skin is always speaking, even when no one is listening. Tonight, while you rest, this living display is happening in countless octopuses around the world, each one painting its skin in response to the surroundings, each one producing soft shifts of color that no one will ever see. The skin keeps doing its work, with or without an audience. Let us drift very slowly deeper into this ancient world. There is more to see in the patient, quiet life of the eight-armed creatures. The octopus is one of the great masters of disguise in the natural world. Among all the animals that have evolved the ability to hide themselves, very few can match the precision and the speed of the octopus. To watch an octopus disappear into its surroundings is to witness one of the small wonders of evolution. Camouflage is, for the octopus, more than a defensive trick. It is a way of life. The octopus has no shell, no spines, no venom in most species, no ability to swim quickly for long distances. Without camouflage, it would be a soft, slow piece of meat in a sea full of predators. With camouflage, it becomes nearly invisible. The skin is, in some sense, the octopus's main armor. The basic camouflage of an octopus is to match the colors and patterns of the surrounding environment. An octopus on a sandy floor takes on the soft gold and tan of the sand. An octopus on a coral reef takes on the pinks and oranges of the coral. An octopus among algae takes on the greens and browns of the plants. The match is often so precise that even careful observers can swim past an octopus without noticing it. Beyond simple color matching, octopuses can also mimic specific patterns. They can produce stripes that match the lines of a swaying seagrass. They can produce modeling that matches the dappled light on a coral garden. They can produce sharp edges that match the angles of stones, or soft fades that match the gradients of open water. Some octopus species have taken camouflage even further. They do not just blend into the background, they actively imitate other animals. The most famous of these is the mimic octopus, a small, slender species that lives in the warm, shallow waters of Indonesia. It is perhaps the world's greatest impersonator. The mimic octopus has been observed imitating at least 15 different species. It can flatten itself into the shape of a flounder and ripple along the seafloor, perfectly mimicking the shape and movement of that flat fish. It can extend 6 of its arms into a hole and wave the other 2 out, imitating a sea snake. It can bunch its arms into the shape of a venomous lionfish and float slowly above the sand. The choice of impersonation depends on what predator is approaching. If a damselfish is threatening the mimic octopus, it may take the form of a sea snake, because sea snakes are predators of damselfish. If a different threat appears, a different impersonation is chosen. The mimic octopus seems to know what each potential enemy is afraid of, and produces the appropriate disguise. How the mimic octopus learned to do this, and how it knows which impersonation to choose for which predator, is still not fully understood. The behavior seems too sophisticated for pure instinct. It seems to involve some kind of judgment, some kind of recognition of the situation. Whatever the mechanism, the result is a kind of theatrical genius in the body of a small, soft cephalopod. Other octopus species have their own specialties. The day octopus, found on coral reefs throughout the tropics, is famous for its rapid pattern shifting. It can produce a continuous stream of changing displays, almost like a slow-motion light show as it moves across the reef. Each change is a precise match for the new background. The common octopus found in temperate seas around the world is a master of the static disguise. It can sit motionless on a rock, with its skin perfectly matched to the texture and color of the stone, and remain there for hours. Even researchers who know exactly where to look sometimes cannot find an octopus that is hiding in plain sight. Texture changes are perhaps the most uncanny part of the camouflage. When an octopus raises the small muscles in its skin called papillae, it can transform from smooth to bumpy in less than a second. The skin can take on the appearance of coral polyps, of barnacles, of small algae fronds, of rough volcanic rock. The disguise becomes three-dimensional. Some octopuses produce papillae that look exactly like the polyps of a particular coral species. Others produce ridges and folds that mimic the wrinkles of a stone. Still others produce small fronds that wave gently in the current, imitating the swaying of seaweed. The texture of the octopus in these moments is not a generic disguise. It is a specific match for a specific surrounding. Beyond passive camouflage, octopuses also have active escape strategies. The most famous is the ink cloud. When an octopus is suddenly threatened, it can release a dark cloud of ink from a small sac near its anus. The ink obscures the water for a few seconds, allowing the octopus to flee while the predator is briefly blinded. Octopus ink contains compounds that affect the senses of predators. It can dull the sense of smell of a chasing fish, making the trail of the octopus harder to follow. It can interfere with the gills of small predators. It is, in some sense, a chemical fog as well as a visual one. The octopus does not just hide, it dissolves the predator's ability to find it. Some octopus species also use a clever trick called the diamatic display. When threatened, instead of hiding, they suddenly produce a flash of bright pulsing color, often paired with a sudden change of body shape. The display is so unexpected, so out of character with the previous behavior, that predators may pause for a moment in confusion. In that pause, the octopus escapes. All of these strategies, camouflage, mimicry, ink, startle displays, are part of the octopus's quiet survival. Without them, the soft body of the octopus would be easy prey. With them, the octopus is one of the most successful invertebrates in the seas of the world. Its disguises are its primary defense, and they have served the octopus lineage for hundreds of millions of years. There is something philosophical, perhaps, about the way octopuses have built their lives around disguise. They are not creatures of confrontation. They are creatures of evasion. They prefer not to be seen, not to be confronted, not to fight. Their solution to the dangers of the sea is, in some sense, to step quietly aside, to dissolve into the surroundings, to become invisible until the danger has passed. It is a different way of being alive than the way of the predators with sharp teeth, or the prey with armor. It is a third way, the way of the disappearing, to survive by being unseen, to live by becoming for a moment indistinguishable from the world around you. There is something quietly graceful about this. Tonight, while you rest, octopuses are continuing to disguise themselves in countless reefs and rocky shores around the world, each one quietly matched to its surroundings, each one practicing the ancient art of becoming invisible. The disguises continue with or without observers. It is a quiet thought, a creature whose primary skill is to vanish, a creature whose body is, in some sense, a slow, gentle act of disappearance. There is something in this that may be useful to take into sleep. The art of becoming for a few hours invisible, the art of dissolving softly into the night. Let us continue our journey very slowly into the next quiet aspect of the octopus. The night is long, and there is much to explore. Most octopuses are crepuscular. The word means active at twilight, at dawn, and at dusk, in the hours when the light is changing. This is when many of them hunt, not in the bright midday sun when they would be too visible, not in the deep dark night when their prey is hidden, but in the soft transitional hours when the sea is full of long shadows and gentle light. The crepuscular schedule is a kind of compromise. It allows the octopus to find prey while still using the dim light to hide. The water at dawn and dusk is full of subtle shadows that change rapidly, An octopus moving through this changing light with its color-shifting skin is nearly impossible to track. The hour itself becomes part of the camouflage. During the day, most octopuses rest in their dens. The den is a small enclosed space, a crack in the rock, a hollow in the coral, sometimes an empty shell, sometimes a discarded human bottle. The octopus sits inside, often with its arms tucked close around its body, and waits. The day is for resting, the twilight is for working. As the sun lowers and the water grows dim, the octopus stirs. It extends a few arms cautiously out of the den. It tastes the water with its suckers. It looks around with its strange rectangular eyes. If the conditions seem safe, it slips out and the hunt begins. The octopus does not chase its prey. It does not swim quickly through open water like a tuna. It does not rush forward like a barracuda. The octopus moves slowly, carefully, blending into the background. It hunts by patience, by stealth, by the quiet placement of its arms in the right places at the right times. The favorite prey of most octopuses are crustaceans, crabs, shrimp, and small lobsters. These animals live in the cracks and crevices of the reef, exactly the places where the boneless body of an octopus excels. The octopus reaches into a crack with one or two arms. The arms taste, explore, and grasp. Within seconds, a crab that thought itself safely hidden has been pulled gently into the open. The taste-by-touch ability of the suckers is what makes this hunting style possible. The octopus does not need to see the crab in the crack. The arm itself can identify what it is touching. If the surface is the texture of a crab's shell and the chemistry tastes right, the arm grasps. If the surface is a stone or a plant, the arm moves on. Each sucker is, in some sense, a small, fast decision maker. Once the prey is grasped, the octopus pulls it close to the central beak. The beak is the only hard tool in the octopus body, and it is well designed for the work of feeding. The beak can crack the shell of a crab or a clam in a few quick squeezes. The hard parts are bitten away. The soft parts are pulled into the mouth. Some species of octopus also produce a small amount of venom. The venom is mild in most species, used mainly to paralyze prey rather than to defend against larger animals. It is injected through a small drilling action of the tongue-like radula, which can bore through the shell of a clam or a snail to deliver the venom directly to the soft body inside. This drilling can take time. An octopus may spend many minutes, sometimes much longer, working through the shell of a tough mollusk. There is no hurry. The shell is small. The octopus has 8 arms holding the prey securely. Eventually the shell yields. The meat is extracted. The empty shell is left behind, often in a small pile near the den called a midden. Researchers can find these middens by looking near the entrances of octopus dens. The piles of empty shells reveal what the octopus has been eating: crab shells, clam shells, snail shells. Sometimes the bones of small fish. The midden is a kind of quiet diary of the octopus's nightly hunting work. Some octopus species hunt in a different way. The mimic octopus in particular is known to use its impersonations not just for defense, but also for hunting. By imitating a larger or more dangerous fish, the mimic octopus can move openly across the sea floor, frightening smaller prey out of hiding. The disguise becomes an active hunting tool. Other octopuses use a technique called the parachute attack. The octopus extends all 8 arms in a wide circle, with the body forming a kind of dome at the top. It then drops gently down onto a patch of reef or sand where prey may be hiding. The arms enclose the area. Whatever was hiding inside is now trapped within the cage of the arms, where the suckers can taste it and the beak can reach it. This is a graceful and quiet hunting style. There is no chase, there is no struggle. The octopus simply settles like a soft canopy over a hiding place and patiently sorts through whatever is underneath. If there is food, it is gathered. If there is nothing, the octopus moves on to the next likely spot. The whole nightly hunt may take hours. The octopus moves slowly from one likely hiding place to another. It probes, it tastes, it captures, it eats, it moves on. By the time dawn returns, the octopus has visited many small spots, gathered enough food for the day, and returns to its den to rest until the next twilight. The hunting of the octopus is, in this way, a kind of slow, gentle meditation. There is no rushing, there is no aggression, there is only the patient placement of the arms, the careful tasting, the quiet resolution of small puzzles in the cracks of the reef. Watching an octopus hunt is, in some sense, watching a creature solve a series of small problems one by one with all the time in the world. The success rate of an octopus hunt is reasonable. Not every probe yields food, not every crevice contains prey, but over the course of a long twilight, the patient, slow approach gathers enough. The octopus does not need to win every encounter. It only needs to gather enough food to fuel its body until the next twilight comes. This pace, this patience, is one of the quiet lessons of the octopus. There is a kind of intelligence in slowness. There is a kind of competence in not rushing. The octopus hunts by being unhurried, by being thorough, by trusting that there is time enough for the work to be done well. Tonight, while you rest, octopuses are hunting in their slow, patient way in countless reefs and rocky shores around the world, each one moving gently from crack to crack, each one tasting the surfaces of the sea floor, each one feeding quietly, in the soft hours of twilight, exactly as octopuses have done for hundreds of millions of years. The hunting will continue. The slow, careful work of finding food will continue. The octopuses will gather what they need and return to their dens and rest and emerge again at the next dusk. Let us drift very slowly toward the next quiet aspect of these patient creatures. There is much more to see. Most octopuses live alone. This is one of the central facts of their lives, and it shapes almost everything else about them, unlike fish, which often gather in schools, or whales, which travel in pods, or social mammals, which form complex groups. The octopus prefers a solitary life. Each octopus has its own den, its own territory, its own quiet routine. The solitary nature of the octopus is, in some sense, a consequence of how it lives. An octopus needs a small enclosed space to rest and hide. There are only so many good dens in any stretch of reef. If too many octopuses tried to live close together, they would compete for the same shelters. The solitary life prevents this competition. Octopuses also tend to be cannibalistic when they encounter each other unexpectedly. A larger octopus may eat a smaller one. This is another reason for keeping a respectful distance. The solitary life is, in some sense, a safety strategy. By avoiding other octopuses, an octopus avoids becoming someone else's meal. Each octopus typically claims a small territory around its den. The territory is roughly the area the octopus can patrol in a single twilight hunt. Within this area, the octopus knows the layout intimately. It knows where the good crevices are. It knows where to find crabs. It knows the shapes of the rocks, the patterns of the coral, the rhythms of the local current. The den itself is the center of the octopus's life. It is where the octopus sleeps. It is where the octopus rests during the day. It is where the octopus retreats when threatened. It is the safe, small home that the octopus returns to after each hunt. Some octopuses keep the same den for weeks or months. Others move dens frequently. Many octopuses decorate their dens. They will gather small stones, shells, or pieces of coral and arrange them at the entrance of the den. This is sometimes called an octopus garden. The arrangement is functional. It can help camouflage the entrance, and it may also be aesthetic in some way we do not fully understand. The den becomes a small personal space shaped by the individual octopus. Different octopuses arrange their dens differently. Some prefer many small stones. Some prefer a few large shells. Some place objects in apparent patterns. Some seem to have no clear arrangement at all. There is in this small variation a hint of individual personality. Each octopus is, in a quiet way, a unique creature with its own preferences. Researchers who have studied octopuses for long periods have come to recognize this individuality. Octopuses that are kept in laboratories sometimes treat different humans differently. They may squirt water at one researcher and gently extend an arm toward another. They may show curiosity toward one visitor and hide from another. The recognition is consistent. It seems to be based on memory of past encounters. This is in some sense surprising for a solitary creature. We tend to assume that animals, which spend their lives mostly alone, do not have the social cognition needed to recognize and remember individuals. But the octopus, despite its solitary lifestyle, seems to be capable of fine-grained social judgment. It just does not usually need to use it. Mating, however, requires the octopus to break its solitude. When the time is right, an octopus will leave its den and travel, sometimes long distances, to find a mate. The mating itself is brief and often awkward. The male approaches the female cautiously. He uses one specially modified arm, called the hectocotylus, to transfer a packet of sperm to the female. Then he leaves. The mating encounter is short. The male and female do not stay together. The male returns to his own territory or goes off to find another mate, or in many species dies shortly afterward. The female carries the sperm, sometimes for weeks, until she is ready to lay her eggs. Then she will undertake one of the most remarkable maternal vigils in the animal kingdom, but that is a story for another chapter. After this brief social encounter, the octopus returns to its solitary life. It hunts alone, it rests alone, it explores its territory alone. The aloneness of the octopus is not, as far as we can tell, lonely in the way that human aloneness can be. It is simply the natural state of the creature, The octopus is at home in its own company. Some octopus species have been observed in slightly more social arrangements, in particular places. There are sites where many octopuses live close together, sometimes called octopus cities or octopus villages. In these dense aggregations, the octopuses interact with each other, sometimes peacefully, sometimes with displays of color, sometimes with brief tussles. These cities are unusual, but they are real. The existence of octopus cities is interesting because it suggests that the solitary lifestyle of the octopus is not absolute. Under the right circumstances, usually places where shelter is unusually abundant, octopuses can tolerate close company. They may even develop loose social structures. The octopus is perhaps less rigidly antisocial than we once thought. But for the most part, the octopus is a creature of quiet solitude. It lives alone. It hunts alone. It dreams alone if octopuses dream. The arc of an octopus life is largely traveled in private, with brief flashes of contact with other octopuses, mostly during mating, and otherwise the long, unhurried days and twilights of a single creature attending to its small territory. There is something restful about this. To imagine a life without the social complications of a school, or a herd, or a community. To imagine a life in which most days unfold according to the small private preferences of a single mind. The octopus, in some sense, lives a life that may resemble what introverts sometimes wish for: quiet, autonomous, undisturbed. Of course, the octopus does not experience this aloneness the way we would. The octopus does not, as far as we can tell, miss other octopuses. The octopus does not feel the absence of friends. The aloneness of the octopus is simply the texture of the octopus's life. It is what being an octopus feels like all the way down. Watching an octopus in its solitary routine, going about its small private life, can be quietly soothing. There is no drama, there is no anxiety, there is only the slow rhythm of a creature attending to its own small world, with all the time it needs, with no external demands. Tonight, while you rest, countless octopuses around the world are continuing their solitary lives, each one in its own den, each one tending its own small territory, each one quietly attending to the patient business of being alive, alone, exactly as octopuses have done for hundreds of millions of years. It is a quiet thought. The solitary patient lives of octopuses scattered across the seas, each one a small pocket of self-sufficient living, each one a gentle reminder that aloneness can be a kind of completeness when it is the right shape for the creature living it. Let us drift very slowly toward the next chapter of the octopus story. There is more to see in the patient, quiet world of these creatures. Among the many quiet wonders of the octopus, there is one that is particularly tender. It is the way an octopus mother cares for her eggs. The story of octopus motherhood is one of the most patient and devoted vigils in the natural world. It is also, in a way that touches anyone who learns about it, one of the most sorrowful. After mating, a female octopus carries the sperm inside her body, sometimes for weeks, while she searches for the right place to lay her eggs. She wants a den that is well protected, away from predators, with the right water flow, the right temperature, the right small details. When she finds the right place, she settles inside. Then, slowly, she lays her eggs. Some species lay only a few hundred. Some lay tens of thousands. Some lay hundreds of thousands. The eggs are small, translucent, attached to the ceiling and walls of the den in delicate strings or clusters. Each egg is no bigger than a grain of rice. Once the eggs are laid, the mother begins her vigil. She does not leave the den, she does not hunt, she does not eat. She tends the eggs day and night for the entire incubation period. Depending on the species, this period may last weeks or months, or in the case of one famous deep-sea octopus, more than 4 years. Throughout this long fast, the mother tends her eggs constantly. She caresses them with her arms gently to keep them clean. She blows water from her siphon over them to keep them oxygenated and free of debris. She picks off small algae and parasites with her suckers. She watches for predators, ready to defend the eggs with whatever strength remains in her body. As the months pass, the mother grows weaker. Her body, denied food, begins to consume itself. Her color fades. Her skin loses its smoothness. Her arms grow thinner. Her once bright eyes grow dimmer, and yet she continues day after day to tend the eggs. The maternal vigil is, in some sense, the last work of her life. In one famous case, scientists observed a deep-sea octopus mother named Granaldone in the cold, dark waters of Monterey Canyon off the coast of California. She held her eggs against a rock face for 4.5 years. During the entire time, she was never observed eating. She was never observed leaving. She simply stayed tending her eggs in the cold, dark water for longer than many human pregnancies multiplied together. This was the longest known maternal vigil in any animal. It is, in some sense, one of the great quiet acts of devotion in the natural world. It is also biologically the prelude to the mother's death. By the time the eggs hatch, the mother has nothing left to give. When the eggs are ready to hatch, the mother often makes one last effort. She blows powerful jets of water from her siphon to disturb the eggs and help the small paralarvae emerge. The tiny octopuses spill out of the den into the open water, where they begin their own short journey as drifting plankton. Shortly after the eggs hatch, the mother dies. This is not a sad accident. It is part of the octopus life cycle. Octopuses are programmed biologically to die after reproducing. The maternal vigil is, in some sense, a long, slow goodbye that the mother begins the moment she lays her eggs. This biological process is called senescence. It is controlled, in part, by a small gland near the brain called the optic gland. After reproduction, the optic gland releases hormones that cause the octopus's body to slowly shut down. The octopus stops eating. Her appearance changes. Her behavior changes. The slow, gentle dying begins and continues until the eggs hatch and the work is complete. The males of most octopus species die even sooner. Often within weeks of mating, sometimes within days. The lifespan of a male octopus is brief and is largely shaped around the search for a mate. Once mating is complete, the male's biological purpose is over. The optic gland triggers his decline as well, and he passes quietly away. This means that octopus generations rarely overlap. The mother dies before her young ever see her in their adult form. The father dies before the young are even born. Each octopus in some sense lives its life without ever knowing its parents, and dies without ever meeting its offspring as adults. The life of an octopus is, in this way, a complete generation in itself. Yet the species continues. The eggs hatch. The paralarvae drift in the plankton for weeks or months, slowly growing. The survivors settle to the sea floor. They find their first dens. They begin their own solitary lives. Within a year or two, depending on the species, they will be ready to reproduce themselves. The cycle of devotion and sacrifice begins again. There is something almost poetic about the structure of the octopus life. A short, bright life, a great act of devotion at the end, a complete handing over of everything to the next generation. The mother gives all of her remaining strength to her eggs. The eggs become the next octopuses. The pattern repeats, generation after generation, across hundreds of millions of years. It is, in some sense, a deeply maternal pattern. The female octopus's life ends in her work of bringing the next generation into the world. There is no leisurely retirement, no second act, no extended time with the offspring. There is only the egg tending, and then the slow, gentle dying, and then the next octopuses begin their own lives. Scientists have studied senescence in octopuses with curiosity and sometimes with sadness. There have been experiments in which the optic gland of a mother octopus has been removed surgically, and in those cases the mother does not die after laying eggs. She continues to live, sometimes for years longer, even abandoning the eggs and resuming a normal life. The hormones that drive senescence are, in some sense, the cause of the maternal sacrifice. This raises a quiet philosophical question. Is the maternal vigil a choice, or is it a biological program? Perhaps it is both. Perhaps the line between choice and biology is not as sharp as we sometimes imagine. The mother does what she does, and what she does is to give the last of herself to her young. That is, in any case, the shape of her life. Tonight, somewhere in the seas of the world, there are octopus mothers tending their eggs. There are mothers in shallow tropical reefs with eggs that will hatch in weeks. There are mothers in cold, deep waters with eggs that will hatch only after years. Each one is in the middle of her long, quiet vigil, waiting for the small octopuses inside the eggs to be ready to emerge into the world. Each one is, in some sense, performing one of the most patient acts of love in the animal kingdom. Each one is giving her last weeks or months or years to a generation she will never see grow up. It is a quiet thing to think about. The mothers alone in their dens tending eggs through the long nights, with all the patience of 500 million years of evolution behind them. Let it be a gentle thought to carry as the night continues. The mothers of the deep doing their slow, patient work, the eggs slowly developing, the next generation slowly preparing to emerge. Let us drift very slowly toward the next aspect of the octopus story. There is no single octopus. There are around 300 different species of octopus in the seas of the world. They come in many sizes, many colors, many habitats, many lifestyles. Each species has its own way of being an octopus. Each one is a slight variation on the same ancient theme. The largest octopus in the world is the giant Pacific octopus. It lives in the cold waters of the North Pacific, from Japan up through Alaska, down along the coast of California. A giant Pacific octopus can have an arm span of more than 9 meters, more than 30 feet, from one extended arm tip to another. It is one of the largest invertebrates on Earth. The giant Pacific octopus is reddish in color, often a deep, rich red, sometimes shifting to brown or pink as it changes mood. Its body can weigh up to 70 kilograms, though most are considerably smaller. Despite its great size, it is gentle in temperament, and it is one of the most intelligent octopus species, frequently studied by researchers fascinated by cephalopod cognition. Giant Pacific octopuses live in the cold, dark waters of the Pacific shelves and slopes. They are often found among rocky outcrops, in submarine canyons, in the kelp forests of the temperate seas. They hunt large prey, crabs the size of dinner plates, sometimes even sharks. Their dens are large, often in the lee of big boulders or under rocky overhangs. At the other end of the size spectrum is the common octopus, Octopus vulgaris. It lives in shallow, temperate, and tropical waters around the world, from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean to the coasts of Japan. The common octopus is medium-sized, with an arm span of about a meter and a brown-gray coloration that shifts easily to match the surrounding rocks and sand. The common octopus is perhaps the most well-studied of all octopus species. Most of what we know about octopus intelligence, octopus behavior, octopus physiology has been learned from this species. It is the octopus that fishermen have known for thousands of years. It is the octopus that ancient writers described. It is the prototypical octopus of human imagination. Then there is the mimic octopus, the master impersonator we met earlier. It lives in the warm, shallow waters of Indonesia and the surrounding seas. It is a slender octopus with relatively long, thin arms, well suited to extending into elaborate shapes. Its natural coloration is a striking pattern of bold brown and white bands, though it shifts these patterns continuously as it impersonates other animals. The mimic octopus was only discovered in 1998. For much of human history, no one knew it existed. The fact that it was hiding in plain sight, often disguised as something else entirely, may have helped it remain invisible to science for so long. There may be other octopus species even now that we have not yet noticed, hidden in the corners of the seas. In the deep, cold abyss, far below the surface, lives the Dumbo octopus. It is named for its resemblance to the cartoon elephant Dumbo. It has two large fin-like flaps on either side of its body that look like floppy ears. The Dumbo octopus uses these fins to swim gracefully through the dark, deep water, hovering and gliding rather than jetting like other octopuses. Dumbo octopuses live at depths of 4,000 meters and more, far deeper than most other octopus species. They are pale, often translucent, sometimes faintly luminescent. They have small eyes, since there is little light to see by where they live. Their lives are slow, even by octopus standards, in the cold pressure of the deep ocean. There are many species of Dumbo octopuses in many deep-sea environments. Some live near hydrothermal vents, some live on abyssal plains, some live in the slow drifting currents of the deep open ocean. They are among the gentlest octopuses, with quiet drifting movements and small graceful flaps. They are also among the least understood, since the deep ocean is a difficult place for humans to study. On the opposite end of the spectrum from the giant Pacific octopus is the blue-ringed octopus. It is small, only about the size of a golf ball when curled up. It lives in the warm waters of the Pacific, particularly around Australia and Indonesia. It is, despite its small size, one of the most venomous animals in the world. The blue-ringed octopus carries a powerful neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin in its saliva, the same chemical that makes pufferfish dangerous. The bite of a blue-ringed octopus can be fatal to a human, although fatalities are rare because the octopus is shy and bites only when severely provoked. When threatened, the octopus warns predators by displaying its iridescent blue rings, which pulse brightly across its body. The blue rings are, in some sense, a polite warning. They are saying in the language of the natural world, "Please do not bite me because I will have to defend myself." Most predators, recognizing the warning, leave the blue-ringed octopus alone. The display is, in this way, a quiet act of communication, of mutual understanding between species. There are many other octopus species worth knowing about. The coconut octopus, which carries pieces of coconut shell and uses them as portable shelters. The argonaut, technically a different group, but related, which secretes a thin papery shell that serves as an egg case. The seven-arm octopus, which, despite its name, does have 8 arms, but in males, one arm is kept tucked inside a small pocket near the eye. The flapjack octopus, a small flat species that hovers above the deep sea floor like a tiny pancake. The glass octopus, almost completely transparent, with only its internal organs visible against the deep, dark water. The pygmy octopus, the smallest of all, sometimes only a few centimeters across, hiding in shells and small crevices on coral reefs. Each species has its own habitat, its own behaviors, its own quiet adaptations to the particular niche it lives in. The diversity of octopuses is, in some sense, a long, quiet exploration of what is possible for an 8-armed, boneless creature with a distributed mind. Every variation has been tried, every niche has been filled, every depth has been colonized. And yet, despite all this variety, every octopus species shares the basic architecture: 8 arms, 3 hearts, blue blood, boneless body, donut-shaped brain, skin full of chromatophores, beak in the center. Each species is, in some sense, a different version of the same ancient theme, the theme of being an octopus expressed in 1,000 different ways. Tonight, somewhere in the world, every octopus species is continuing its small life. The giant Pacific octopuses are hunting in the cold North Pacific. The mimic octopuses are slipping through Indonesian shallows. The Dumbo octopuses are drifting in the abyssal dark. The blue-ringed octopuses are pulsing their warning rings in warm reefs. Each one a quiet member of the great octopus family, each one alive tonight. It is good to know that the family is so varied, that the seas have grown so many different versions of this strange and lovely creature, that the basic plan of the octopus has been adapted to so many different worlds with such patient creativity over hundreds of millions of years. Let us continue our journey very slowly into the next chapter of the octopus story. There is much more to see in the patient, quiet world of these creatures. The intelligence of the octopus is one of the great quiet wonders of the natural world. It is an intelligence very different from ours, organized in different ways, applied to different problems, and yet it is, beyond any reasonable doubt, real intelligence. Octopuses think, octopuses learn, octopuses solve problems. They do all of this without language, without society, without any of the things we usually associate with sophisticated minds. Researchers who study octopus cognition have spent decades documenting what octopuses can do. The findings are surprising, even to scientists who expected the octopus to be smart. The octopus turns out to be capable of behaviors that we usually associate only with mammals or birds, and sometimes only with primates, dolphins, or crows. One of the most famous demonstrations of octopus intelligence is the jar opening experiment. A researcher places a crab inside a glass jar with a screw-on lid. The jar is given to an octopus. The octopus inspects the jar. It tastes the lid. It explores the threading. Within a few minutes, it is figured out that the lid can be unscrewed, and it patiently turns the lid until the jar opens, releasing the crab. Some octopuses can even open jars from the inside. Researchers have placed octopuses in jars and screwed the lids shut. Within minutes, the octopus has worked out how to push and turn the lid from the inside, and it pours itself out into the open water. The boneless body of the octopus, combined with its problem-solving mind, makes most enclosures temporary at best. Octopuses are, in fact, famous escape artists. In aquariums, they have been observed leaving their tanks at night, crawling across the floor to a neighboring tank that contains fish, eating the fish, and returning to their own tank before morning. The behavior is so common that aquariums must take careful precautions to prevent it. Octopuses understand the layout of the rooms they live in. They also seem to remember the schedules of the humans who care for them. Octopuses have been observed waiting near the entrance of their tank when feeding time approaches, and ignoring the entrance the rest of the day. They time their behavior to the rhythms of the humans they live among. They are in some sense paying attention to the patterns of the world around them. Tool use is another marker of intelligence that octopuses display. The most famous example is the coconut octopus, which lives in the warm, shallow waters of Indonesia. This species has been observed gathering pieces of broken coconut shell from the seafloor, carrying them across the sand, and assembling them into portable shelters that the octopus crawls into when threatened. This behavior is significant because it shows the octopus using objects in advance of need. The coconut octopus does not just react to threats, it anticipates them. It carries shells around with it, even when it does not need them, just in case it might. It plans ahead. This kind of forward-looking behavior is rare in animals and was once thought to be exclusively human. Some octopuses also use stones and shells to block the entrances of their dens. They will gather small objects and stack them carefully at the door of their home, creating a small barrier that hides the entrance from predators. The arrangement is functional, but it also seems to vary in a way that suggests aesthetic choice. Different octopuses arrange their stones differently. Octopuses can also learn through observation. In one experiment, researchers showed an octopus how to open a particular kind of latched box. After watching the demonstration, the octopus could open the box itself, even though it had never been shown how to do so before. This kind of social learning, picking up a skill by watching another perform it, is rare in invertebrates. The memory of an octopus is also impressive. Octopuses can remember the layout of complex environments. They can remember the location of food sources. They can remember which surfaces of their tanks have produced shocks in laboratory experiments and avoid those surfaces afterward. They can even remember individual humans, distinguishing between people who have fed them and people who have annoyed them. There's a famous story of an octopus at one aquarium that took a dislike to a particular researcher. Whenever this researcher walked past the tank, the octopus would squirt water at her. It did not squirt water at other researchers. The behavior was consistent over weeks. The octopus in some sense recognized her as a particular individual and had decided that she was the one to be squirted. Octopuses also seem to play. When researchers give octopuses simple objects in their tanks, small floating bottles, blocks of plastic, the octopuses sometimes spend long periods manipulating these objects in ways that do not relate to feeding or territory. They push the objects around, they squeeze them, they release them and grab them again. The behavior looks remarkably like play, in the way mammals and birds play. Play is, in animals, often associated with intelligence. It is a way of exploring the world without immediate purpose. It is a way of trying things out, of refining motor skills, of staying mentally engaged with the environment. The fact that octopuses appear to play suggests that their minds, like our own, are not always strictly utilitarian. Octopuses also show signs of curiosity. When a new object is placed in their tank, they typically investigate it. They approach it slowly, they taste it with their suckers, they turn it over with their arms, they explore it from many angles. The investigation can take a long time, and it does not seem to be driven by hunger or fear. It seems to be driven by something like the desire to understand. How can a creature with such a different brain be capable of such mammal-like behavior? This is one of the great open questions of cognitive science. The octopus did not evolve from any of the same lineages as the smart mammals and smart birds. The intelligence of the octopus arose independently in the sea in a body very different from ours, yet the resulting cognition looks in many ways similar. This is perhaps the deepest lesson of the octopus. Intelligence does not have to evolve only once. It can evolve independently in different lineages, in different environments, in different bodies. There may be many different ways to be smart. In this universe, the octopus is one of them. Mammals are another. Birds are another. Each is a different solution to the problem of thinking. Tonight, octopuses are continuing their thoughtful lives in countless reefs and rocky shores. They are exploring objects in their dens. They are remembering the layouts of their territories. They are recognizing the chemical signatures of familiar prey. They are doing, in their quiet way, the slow, patient work of being intelligent. It is a good thought to know that the seas are full of minds, that the world has been growing different kinds of intelligence for hundreds of millions of years, that, in some sense, we are not alone in our thinking. The octopus thinks, the dolphin thinks, the crow thinks, each one in its own way, each one in its own body, each one is a small living example of the strange, beautiful gift of mind. Let the thought rest gently. There is no need to resolve it tonight. The octopuses will continue thinking. The seas will continue holding them. The patient work of mind in the universe will continue with or without our attention. Let us drift very slowly toward the next aspect of the octopus. The night is long. There is much yet to explore. Octopuses live in nearly every ocean on Earth. They are one of the most widely distributed groups of animals in the seas, from the warm, shallow lagoons of the tropics to the cold, dark abyss of the deepest trenches. There are octopuses living quiet lives, each one adapted to its particular corner of the sea. The shallow tropical reefs are perhaps the most familiar octopus habitats. In the warm, clear waters of the Caribbean, the Indo-Pacific, the Red Sea, and the tropical Atlantic, octopuses live among the corals. They tuck themselves into crevices in the reef. They hunt over the sand flats. They navigate the slow currents of the lagoons. These reef octopuses are often the most colorful and the most active. The warm water keeps their metabolism quick. The abundant prey of the reef provides them with frequent meals. The complex three-dimensional architecture of the coral gives them many places to hide. A tropical reef octopus may have a very small territory, no more than a few square meters, but it knows every detail of that small kingdom. In the temperate seas, the cooler waters between the tropics and the polar regions, octopuses live among rocks, kelp forests, and seagrass meadows. The temperate octopus species are often larger than their tropical cousins, since cold water tends to support larger bodies. They may have larger territories. They may move more slowly. The kelp forests of the Pacific are particularly rich octopus habitats. Tall fronds of kelp rise from the rocky seafloor to the surface, forming a kind of underwater forest. Light filters through the fronds in shifting patterns. The forest is full of small fish, crabs, and other prey. Octopuses hide among the rocks at the base of the kelp, hunting in the dappled light. The cold polar seas also support octopus species. In the Arctic and Antarctic, octopuses adapted to near-freezing water continue their patient lives. These polar octopuses have unique blood chemistry that prevents their copper-based hemocyanin from freezing. They move slowly, hunt slowly, breathe slowly. The pace of their lives matches the slow pace of the polar sea. In the deep open ocean, far from any coastline, octopuses live among the drifting plankton and migrating fish. These pelagic octopuses do not have dens. They drift through the water column, sometimes near the surface, sometimes hundreds of meters deep. They have soft, transparent bodies well suited to a life in open water, where there is nowhere to hide except in plain sight. In the deep abyssal plains, thousands of meters below the surface, the Dumbo octopuses and other deep-sea species drift gently through the eternal darkness. The water here is just above freezing. The pressure is enormous. The food is sparse. Yet octopuses thrive. They have found ways to extract enough energy from the deep and to live their slow, patient lives in conditions that would kill most surface creatures instantly. Even more remarkably, some octopuses live near hydrothermal vents, the deep-sea chimneys that spew superheated mineral-rich water out of the seafloor. The water around these vents can be hundreds of degrees hotter than the surrounding ocean. The chemistry is harsh. the pressure is crushing. And yet, in the slightly cooler edges of the vent fields, octopuses live among the strange chemosynthetic ecosystems that thrive there. These hydrothermal vent octopuses are some of the most extreme animals on Earth. They live in conditions that no surface creature could survive for a moment. They feed on the strange organisms that grow around the vents. They reproduce in the dark, they die in the dark, and yet they are octopuses fundamentally similar to the octopuses of the bright tropical reefs. The depth at which an octopus species lives shapes much about its biology. Shallow water octopuses tend to have bright, complex pigment patterns and fast color-changing skin. Deep-sea octopuses tend to be paler, often translucent, with slower metabolisms. Surface-active octopuses have larger eyes. Deep-sea octopuses have smaller eyes, since there is little light to see by. There is a kind of vertical zonation of octopuses across the depths of the world's oceans. Different species occupy different depth ranges. The species at the very surface rarely venture into the deep. The species in the deep rarely venture toward the surface. Each layer of the ocean has its own octopus communities, its own quiet residents, its own patient adaptation. Within each habitat, octopuses also occupy specific niches. There are octopus species that specialize in hunting on coral reefs. There are species that specialize in hunting on sandy bottoms. There are species that prefer rocky terrain. There are species that prefer kelp. Each one has its own preferred substrate, its own preferred prey, its own preferred temperature range. The diversity of octopus habitats is, in some sense, a quiet testament to the adaptability of the basic octopus design. The same body, 8 arms, 3 hearts, blue blood, soft mantle, color-changing skin, works in nearly every kind of ocean environment. The octopus has been able to find its way into almost every niche of the marine world. This adaptability is perhaps why octopuses have thrived for so long. They are not specialists locked into a single niche. They are generalists with adaptable plans. When conditions change in one part of the sea, octopuses elsewhere continue to flourish. When new niches open, octopuses tend to find them. The flexibility of the octopus body is matched by the flexibility of its lifestyle. Of course, this does not mean octopuses are immune to the changes humans are making to the oceans. Warming water, ocean acidification, overfishing, pollution, all of these affect octopus populations. Some species are doing relatively well in changing conditions. Others are declining. The story of octopuses in the modern ocean is, like so many stories of marine life, a mix of resilience and concern. And yet, on the whole, octopuses continue. They have continued through ice ages. They have continued through great extinctions. They have continued through the rise and fall of countless other groups of marine creatures. They are likely to continue in some form far longer than humans will. The octopus is, in some sense, one of the steadier presences in the long story of life on Earth. Tonight, in every ocean of the world, octopuses are quietly inhabiting their habitats. The reef octopuses are tucked into their coral cracks. The kelp forest octopuses are resting at the bases of the kelp. The deep-sea octopuses are drifting through their cold, dark water, each one in its own habitat, each one in its own patient routine. The world is full of octopuses, distributed across every sea, in every depth, at every temperature. each one a small living link in the great fabric of marine life, each one a quiet expression of the octopus design. Let us drift very slowly toward the next chapter of their story. There is more to see. The octopus and its world contain quiet wonders we have not yet touched. Humans have been encountering octopuses for as long as we have lived near the sea. The octopus is one of the most striking creatures of the shallow waters, hard to miss for anyone fishing or wading along a rocky shore. And so, across the long history of human cultures, the octopus has appeared again and again in stories, in art, in mythology, in the patient memory of coastal peoples. The earliest known images of octopuses come from the ancient Minoan civilization on the island of Crete in the eastern Mediterranean more than 3,000 years ago. The Minoans painted octopuses on their pottery, on their walls, on their seals. The octopus, with its 8 arms spread out in a graceful pattern, was a favorite Minoan motif. The image expressed something about the sea that the Minoans valued. Some of the most beautiful Minoan vases show octopuses with their arms spreading across the curved surface of the pottery, as if the octopus is wrapping itself around the vessel. The arms curl gently. The eyes look out from the central body. The image is decorative, but also somehow alive. The Minoans seem to have understood the octopus as a creature of beauty, not just of food or fear. In ancient Greek thought, the octopus was called polypus, which means many-footed. The Greeks were familiar with the octopus, both as a food and as a creature of the sea. Aristotle wrote about octopuses in his works on natural history. He described their behavior with surprising accuracy, noting their color changes, their hunting, their mating, their care for eggs. Aristotle was, in some sense, one of the first scientific observers of octopus behavior. His descriptions of octopuses are still recognizable today. He noted that octopuses are intelligent. He noted that they are skilled at camouflage. He noted that the female dies after laying eggs. 23 centuries later, modern marine biology has confirmed many of his observations. In the Mediterranean tradition, the octopus has remained a familiar creature, often eaten as food, often celebrated in art. The octopus appears in Roman mosaics, in Byzantine illustrations, in Renaissance paintings. The image of the 8-armed sea creature has remained continuous in Mediterranean culture for thousands of years. In Japan, the octopus has a particularly rich cultural presence. Japanese fishermen have caught octopuses for thousands of years. Japanese artists have depicted them in countless prints and paintings. The octopus appears in Japanese folklore as a sea creature with both supernatural powers and gentle quality. One of the most famous Japanese figures is Akorokamui, a giant octopus deity from the folklore of the Ainu people of Hokkaido. Akorokamui is said to live in the deep waters of Funka Bay and to be enormous, with arms long enough to reach across the bay. Akorokamui is a powerful but largely benevolent figure, sometimes associated with healing and with the rhythms of the sea. In Polynesian mythology, the octopus appears as Kanaloa, a god associated with the sea, with healing, and with the deep. Kanaloa is one of the 4 major Hawaiian gods, often associated with octopus imagery, sometimes depicted as octopus-shaped. The octopus is, in this tradition, a creature with deep spiritual significance. In Northern Europe, the octopus and its larger cousin, the squid, became absorbed into the legend of the kraken, a vast sea monster of Scandinavian mythology, said to dwell in the deep, dark waters of the North Atlantic. The kraken was, in stories, large enough to wrap its arms around ships and pull them down into the deep. Sailors feared it. Mapmakers drew it in the empty corners of their chart. The kraken legends were probably inspired by occasional sightings of giant squid, which can grow to 13 meters or more. Giant squid are not technically octopuses, they are a different cephalopod, but in the imagination of medieval sailors, the distinction was not important. Any large, many-armed sea creature was, in some sense, a kraken. The kraken became one of the most enduring sea monsters in European folklore. Modern scholars have suggested that the kraken story may also have been influenced by occasional encounters with the giant Pacific octopus. While giant octopuses do not generally pull ships under the waves, they are large enough and intimidating enough in their dark hunting territories to inspire stories. In the 19th and 20th centuries, the octopus made its way into modern literature and art. Jules Verne featured a giant octopus in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Victor Hugo wrote a famous chapter in The Toilers of the Sea about an octopus encounter full of dramatic imagery. The Japanese artist Hokusai created some of the most well-known octopus illustrations in art history. Hokusai's woodblock prints showing octopuses, particularly the famous Dream of the Fisherman's Wife, are among the most reproduced and discussed images of octopuses in world art. The prints are exquisite in their craftsmanship, with delicate depictions of the 8 arms, the suckers, the soft body of the octopus. They show the octopus as a creature of beauty, mystery, and presence. Modern marine biology has, of course, revealed much more about octopuses than ancient cultures could have known. We now understand the chromatophores, the distributed nervous system, the senescence of the optic gland. We have studied the genome of the octopus and found that it is unusually complex, with strange patterns of gene editing that may relate to the octopus's flexible behavior. Yet the older imaginings of the octopus have not been replaced by science. They have been added to. The octopus remains in some sense both an animal and a symbol, both a creature and a metaphor, both a body and a presence. Different cultures have found different meanings in the same 8-armed creature, and all of those meanings are in some way true to the octopus. In recent years, the octopus has had something of a cultural revival. Books like Peter Godfrey Smith's Other Minds have helped readers around the world appreciate the strange brilliance of the octopus mind. Documentaries showing octopus behavior in the wild have been viewed by millions of people. The octopus has, in some sense, become a beloved figure of contemporary nature writing. The octopus has emerged in our time as a creature people find both fascinating and tender. We see in it a kind of intelligence we did not previously expect from invertebrates. We see in it a sensitivity, a personhood, a quiet presence. We have, in some sense, come to understand the octopus more deeply than any previous human culture, and we have found, in that deeper understanding, more reasons to admire it, not fewer. Tonight, somewhere on Earth, octopuses are continuing the long story they have shared with humans across thousands of years. They are the creatures of Aristotle and Hokusai. They are the kraken of the sailors. They are the Akorokamui of the Ainu. They are the polypus of the Greeks. They are the eight-armed beings of countless other small encounters in countless other harbors across the long human relationship with the sea. And the octopuses themselves, of course, do not know any of this. They go about their patient lives in their dens, in their reefs, in their cold, dark abysses, without any awareness of the human stories about them. They are simply themselves doing what octopuses do, exactly as they have done for hundreds of millions of years. Let us drift very slowly toward the next chapter, the philosophical reflection on what we learn from a mind so unlike our own. The night is long. There is much yet to consider. There is something the octopus seems to teach us simply by existing. It is hard to put it into words, partly because the octopus itself does not use words, but many people who have spent time with octopuses in laboratories or in the wild have come away with the sense that they have met something thoughtful, something present, something quietly aware, and that meeting has changed them in some small way. Part of what the octopus teaches is that intelligence does not have to look the way we expect. Intelligence does not have to be centered in one place. It does not have to be expressed in language. It does not have to be social. It does not have to follow any of the patterns we are used to from our own minds and the minds of our closest mammal relatives. Intelligence can take many shapes. The octopus shows us that a mind can be distributed across many parts of a body and still be a mind. A mind can be solitary with very little social context and still be a mind. A mind can be nonverbal with no words for its own thoughts and still be a mind. The octopus is one of the great proofs that mind is not a single shape, but a family of shapes. This idea that there are many different ways to be intelligent is not just an academic point. It changes how we look at other animals. It changes how we look at the natural world. It changes perhaps how we look at ourselves. We are one kind of mind among many. Our way of thinking is not the only way. Other minds, very different from ours, are right next to us in the seas of the world. There is also something the octopus teaches about being soft, about being flexible, about being able to fit into the world without armor. The octopus has no shell, no spines, no rigid structure. It survives by being adaptable, by being attentive, by being able to change shape and color and texture as the situation demands. There is a quiet wisdom in this softness. Many of us spend much of our lives building our defenses, our shells, our hard outer surfaces. The octopus, which had a hard shell long ago in its evolutionary past, has chosen to give it up. The octopus has become, in some sense, an experiment in what is possible when an animal trades protection for awareness and rigid form for flexible response. There is also something the octopus teaches about patience. The octopus does not hurry. It moves slowly across the sea floor. It waits, sometimes for long periods, before taking action. It explores the environment carefully, with each of its 8 arms, taking the time to taste, to feel, to consider. The pace of an octopus is not the pace of a hunter racing through open water. It is the pace of a careful explorer. In a world that often demands speed of us, the octopus is a small reminder that there is wisdom in slowness, that there is competence in not rushing, that careful attention can accomplish things that hurried action cannot. The octopus, with its long, contemplative explorations of small corners of the reef, is a quiet model of patient, effective work. There is also something the octopus teaches about presence. An octopus is fully present in its body. It is fully present in its environment. It does not, as far as we can tell, spend time worrying about the future or regretting the past. It attends to what is happening now in the cracks of the reef, in the currents of the water, in the gentle pulses of its three hearts. Of course, we cannot know for sure what an octopus experiences. We cannot know whether it has anything like our sense of self. We cannot know whether it has feelings or memories or anticipation in the ways we have these things. The interior life of an octopus may be completely unlike anything we can imagine, or it may be more familiar than we expect. We do not know, but this not knowing is in itself a kind of teaching. The octopus reminds us that there are minds in the world we cannot fully understand. There are perspectives we cannot fully access. There are ways of being alive that are profoundly different from our own, and these other minds are not exotic curiosities. They are right here in the warm, shallow seas, in every reef, in countless quiet dens. There is also something the octopus teaches about giving. The mother octopus gives everything she has to her eggs. She gives her health, her appearance, her food, her vigilance, her time. She gives in the end her life. The octopus mother is perhaps one of the most extreme examples of devotion in the animal kingdom. She does not hold anything back. This kind of giving is hard for us to imagine. Most of us, even when we love deeply, do not give all of ourselves. We hold something back. We protect ourselves. We try to balance care for others with care for ourselves. The octopus mother does not seem to operate on this kind of balance. She is built biologically and behaviorally to give it all. There is something humbling in the contemplation of this, and there is something the octopus teaches about being okay with solitude. The octopus lives most of its life alone. It does not, as far as we can tell, need other octopuses for companionship. It is at peace with its own company. It does not seem lonely in the way humans sometimes are. Solitude is, for the octopus, simply the natural shape of its life. This is a useful counterimage, perhaps, to a world that often treats solitude as a problem to be solved. The octopus is fine. It is doing its work. It has its small territory, its routines, its careful attention. It does not need to be in the company of others to be complete. There is something restful in considering this kind of self-sufficient aloneness. Each of us, perhaps, can take something from the octopus: the wisdom of slowness, the competence of softness, the completeness of solitude, the depth of devotion, the reality of multiple kinds of mind, the strangeness of intelligence in unexpected places. The octopus does not teach these things directly. It simply embodies them by being itself, and we can learn by paying attention. And the octopus does not need us to learn from it. It does not care whether we observe it or not. It does not write books about itself. It does not give lectures. It simply continues its quiet life, generation after generation, expressing the wisdom of its eight-armed body without ever needing to put it into words. This is perhaps the deepest teaching of all, that wisdom does not require an audience. Tonight, while you rest, octopuses are continuing to embody these quiet truths in countless dens around the world. the mother in her vigil, the hunter in its slow, patient explorations, the solitary octopus in its small territory, the deep-sea octopus drifting through the dark, each one in its own way, a quiet model of a way of being alive. Let the lessons of the octopus rest gently in your mind. There is no need to grasp them firmly. Let them, like the octopus itself, hold their shape lightly, ready to flow into whatever new shape the night may bring. Let them be present without being insisted upon. The octopus has lived alongside humans for thousands of years, mostly unobserved, mostly unknown. It will continue in its quiet way for thousands more, regardless of what we know or do not know about it. There is something companionable in this thought. The octopuses are there. They will keep being there. The night will continue, and so will they. Let us drift very slowly toward the closing of the night. The journey is nearly complete. There is only the gentle ending left. Thank you for letting us be part of your night. If this slow journey helped your body settle, subscribing is the kindest way to keep these hours coming. Each week we travel somewhere new and ancient and unhurried, always within the deep blue sea, always meant for rest. The journey we have taken tonight slowly through the patient world of the octopus has reached its quiet conclusion. We have visited the ancient lineage of cephalopods, stretching back 500 million years. We have explored the 8-armed body, the 3 hearts, the blue copper-based blood, the donut-shaped brain. We have considered the distributed mind, the color-changing skin, the Master Camouflage. We have followed the hunter at twilight and the solitary soul in its quiet den. We have considered the gentle sacrifice of the mother, the many species spread across the seas, the strange intelligence without words. We have thought about the world the octopus inhabits, the cultural stories humans have told about it, the wisdom that the 8-armed creature seems to teach simply by being itself. Each chapter has been a small window into the patient, quiet life of a remarkable being. The journey has been slow on purpose. The octopus itself moves slowly. The deep blue sea moves slowly. The night moves slowly. There has been no hurry, and there is no hurry now. Whatever you have absorbed, whatever you have not absorbed, whatever you have heard, and whatever you have drifted past, all of it is exactly right. The night has been holding the journey for you. As we close, let yourself rest. Let the bed hold you. Let the pillow hold your head. Let the breath continue on its own, without your supervision. The work of the night, like the work of the sea, is being done without your effort. You do not need to participate. You only need to allow. The octopuses, in countless dens around the world, are still tending their lives. The mothers are still tending their eggs. The hunters are still moving slowly through twilight reefs. The solitary octopuses are still resting in their quiet, small territories. None of them need your attention. All of them are doing exactly what they should be doing in this very moment all over the patient earth. Somewhere, a giant Pacific octopus is resting in a cold, rocky den off the coast of Alaska. Somewhere, a mimic octopus is moving through the warm shallows of Indonesia, choosing which animal to become next. Somewhere, a Dumbo octopus is drifting through the abyssal dark 4,000 meters below the surface. Each one is a small living link in the great fabric of marine life. Somewhere, a coconut octopus is carrying a piece of shell across the sand. Somewhere, a blue-ringed octopus is pulsing its gentle warning rings to warn off a curious fish. Somewhere, a deep-sea octopus is patiently tending eggs that will not hatch for years. Each one a quiet member of the great family of cephalopods, each one alive tonight, each one continuing the long story of the octopus on Earth. The light at the surface of the sea is changing slowly. The currents are continuing in their slow, ancient flows. The plankton is drifting up toward the patience of the octopus is perhaps a useful patience to take into sleep. The way the octopus moves slowly, the way it does not hurry, the way it is content with its own company, the way it gives itself fully to whatever it is doing, whether tending eggs or exploring a small crevice. Let some of that patient quality be present in your own slow drift towards sleep. There is no rush to fall asleep. There is no specific moment that must be reached. Sleep arrives the way evening arrives, the way the tide comes in, the way the octopus emerges from its den at twilight, gradually, gently, without anyone announcing it. It does not need to be summoned. It only needs to be allowed. If your eyes are still open, allow them to close now. There is nothing more to see. There is nothing more to learn. There is nothing more to remember. The octopuses will continue to live their patient lives whether you are watching or not. The seas will continue to hold them. The night will continue to deepen. The 8 arms of the octopus are still tasting the surfaces of the sea floor somewhere. The 3 hearts of the octopus are still pulsing gently somewhere. The skin of the octopus is still rippling with quiet color somewhere. The donut-shaped brain is still wrapped around the throat, doing its patient distributed work somewhere. All of these things are continuing in countless octopuses in the quiet seas of the night. Let the breath continue in and out. The octopus breathes too, in cycles much different from ours. Water flowing in through the mantle, water flowing out through the siphon, gills extracting oxygen, 3 hearts pumping blue blood. The octopus has been doing this kind of breathing for hundreds of millions of years. Tonight, you and the octopus are both alive, breathing in the same world, on the same patient breathing earth. There is a kind of companionship in that. The octopus does not know you. You may never see one in person, and yet here you both are, continuing the quiet work of being alive on this single small planet, on this single small night. Let it be enough that you are here, and that the octopuses are there, and that the patient inheritance of life continues, tonight, in countless forms all over the soft world. There is no other body in the universe that does this exactly the way yours does. There is no other octopus in the universe that does this exactly the way that one does. And yet you're both alive, both breathing, both resting. Sleep deeply now. The night will hold you. The octopuses will continue. Tomorrow the seas will still be there somewhere, with their patient 8-armed residents and their countless small wonders. The work of the octopus will go on generation after generation, exactly as it has gone on for hundreds of millions of years. Until then, drift. Drift slowly. Drift completely, drift into the deep blue world of the octopus, where the 8 arms are still tasting, where the 3 hearts are still pulsing, where the skin is still gently changing color, where the slow rhythms of the deep sea will carry on whether anyone is watching or not. The night is long. The deep blue sea is patient. The octopuses are gentle. There is room for you to rest here in the quiet company of the 8-armed creatures for as long as you need. Let your body soften. Let your breath soften. Let your mind soften the way an octopus body softens to flow through a small crack. There is no rigid shape you need to keep tonight. The body knows how to rest. It has been doing this every night of your life. The deep blue sea continues. The octopuses continue. Tomorrow the sun will rise over 1,000 reefs and 1,000 kelp forests and 1,000 abyssal plains, and the octopuses will be there exactly as they have been every dawn for hundreds of millions of years. The world is steady. The patient ones continue. Let your sleep be one of them. Good night. Outside this video, the night is still going. The octopuses are still drifting slowly through the gentle currents. The 8 arms are still tasting the sea floor. The patient eyes are still watching the world somewhere in countless quiet dens around the world. Tomorrow comes when it comes. Until then, sleep deeply. Good night from the Circadian Institute.